Hey, hi. In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure and manage Azure Infrastructure as a code using Terraform Cloud and GitHub Actions. As you see in this picture, which depicts my demo. All right, so here I'm going to show you how we can set up the components. Here I'm using multiple components like GitHub, GitHub Actions, Terraform Cloud, and Azure. Okay, so now here the main motive is to show you how you can get started with using these components and have that Azure infrastructure as a code using Terraform Cloud and GitHub Actions. Okay, so as you know that Terraform is a HashiCorp product, right? So which is again the HashiCorp is again now providing Terraform Cloud, which is a cloud service, or a Terraform. It's a cloud service from the HashiCorp, which provides you a remote, state file storage option as well, right? So there are the multiple benefits of using the Terraform Cloud. So maybe you can explore what is the advantages of Terraform Cloud, right? So yeah, so as I said, as the demand now growing towards making your infrastructure managed by Azure Infrastructure as a code, right? So this is the video which is dedicated for those learners who wants to understand how to manage their infrastructure of Azure using GitHub, GitHub Actions, and Terraform, especially Terraform Cloud. Okay, so as usual, so this picture depicts my the flow. All right. So before I explain this picture, so I can request in between. Please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. Yeah. So with that note, we can just directly start with this one. So I have previously explained, how we can configure AWS infrastructure as a code using Terraform Cloud and GitHub Actions. This video depicts, how you can do same for Azure as well. Okay. So for example, right now as a version control tool, you might be using GitHub. So this is what the GitHub logo tells all about, where you are hosting your repositories containing Terraform files, coding files, JSON files, YAML files, yeah, which is specially managed to which is specialized to manage, infrastructure, nothing but your infrastructure, yeah. So where a developer, right? If you see the symbol here, so this is a developer, right? The developer will be cloning the repos, making the infrastructure as a code, development, committing the code, okay, and which will eventually the committing the code or creating the pull request, merger of the pull request, okay. So these are all the tasks on your GitHub repos, right? So these tasks will eventually have respect to GitHub Actions, okay. The GitHub Actions gets invoked whenever there is a certain definition is been defined. In the sense, for example, somebody merging the pull request, somebody created the commit, okay. So in that case, we will define GitHub Actions to invoke certain operations, okay. So here GitHub Actions is meant to run the Terraform commands, which includes Terraform plan, Terraform init, Terraform plan, and Terraform apply, yeah. Here, when it runs these commands, it needs a backend, right? The Terraform always needs a backend. So here the backend is Terraform Cloud, right? So I'm going to show you how we can configure everything which is required for Terraform Cloud. Even I have explained in my previous video as well. Anyways, I'm going to show you again here. So on the Terraform Cloud, we're going to create organizations. Under organization, we're going to host a workspace. Workspace is a place where your Terraform state file go and sit, okay. So that's the reason that the responsibility of GitHub Action is to get the status of your infrastructure and update the status of your infrastructure. Okay, so that's what the this GitHub Action does. And while it when it does a get and update, it will try to communicate with the Terraform Cloud. Okay, so Terraform Cloud is the place where we actually keep the secrets. Okay, so these secrets are very secure one, and Terraform the Terraform Cloud owns that security of your credentials which are stored on the Terraform Cloud. Okay. So finally, when the GitHub Actions runs the Terraform init and Terraform, Terraform, so this needs to be changed. So this is bit, I will change it. This is not AWS. So when you run a Terraform, when you run the Terraform init, in the sense it will try to initialize the Terraform with all prerequisites, all dependencies will be downloaded. And when you run the Terraform plan, it's gonna compile your Terraform code and then prepare a draft of your your infrastructure. And finally, once you are done with the review of your your infrastructure, you're going to run the command called GitHub, the Terraform apply, which will eventually, create the resources in the Azure cloud. Okay, so that's what we see, creates Azure. So here I'm going to show you a simple resource creation, that is Azure storage. Okay, so we're going to create Azure storage account. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. All right, so this is the basic, the flow walkthrough, right? So as that, the arrow mark, it starts from here, goes through this one, checks with this Terraform Cloud, and finally you have the infrastructure spinned up. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you in this video. All right, so let me go back to my Azure now, so this is my Azure console, or this is my Azure portal, where I have one single subscription, and this is a free subscription for your information. I'm using it for my purpose, and in future I'm going to upgrade it to the pay as you go. So in this subscription, what I did is I'm going to create those resources, that is a resource group and the storage account through that process. Before that, there is a prerequisite. Okay, so how does this if I can go back, so how does this Terraform Cloud try to get a connection with the Azure and do the infrastructure evaluation and infrastructure provisioning and all? Okay, so invocation happens from here, but eventually the authentication credentials are being kept here only. All right, so those credentials are belong in here. As of now I'm using SPN, that is the service principal name, and SPN with the secret client secret and the client secret ID. Okay, so I have created this client secret ID. If you see, right, it expires in 3 months, and I have copied the the secret secret value and the application ID. If I can go to the ORU, right, in the ORU you see the application ID. Okay, so we need majorly 4 data. One is application ID, this is the one you need to copy. Tenant ID, this is the one you need to copy. And in the secret, if you go to the secret, so we need to copy the secret as well. Along with that, there's one more parameter you need to know is the subscription ID. So your subscription ID, you're going to find it from here. So if you go to the OU, right, so you see the subscription ID. Okay, so you need 4 data. So let me reiterate again. You need to have a subscription ID. You need to know the tenant ID. You need to know your SPN application ID. You need to know the secret ID. Okay, so you need to know the secret of your secret of your SPN. Okay, all right. So with this 4 data, if you have keep it in a notepad. Okay, I'm not going to show my credentials because they are very secure one. And before you first one, take a note of that one in the notepad, and the next one is you need to assign roles to your SPN. Okay, so in this case, to my SPN I have given owner access, which is highest access. Maybe we can reduce it like that. Okay, so how do you assign the access to the subscription, right? So let me assign one more role to my SPN again. So how do I do? So click on add role assignment, right? So I'm gonna give it a contributor here, and next we go to the members. In the member, I'm gonna copy the so my quick cloud labs. So that's a cloud quick lab. So let me find out my all right, so this is the my SPN. I have selected it, right? And let me go to the next one. If you see here, I'm gonna assign contributor to my SPN in the scope of my subscription, right? And then finally review and assign it. So once you give the real contributor access is enough for this demo, so which is the highest privilege. Maybe I will remove this because owner is the highest privilege, not need to give that. So let's say right now our SPN has the contributor access. Okay, so once these are done, so now you have done with the 2 steps. One, you have collected the 4 required data of your SPN, and you have given the contributor access. Now let's go to the Terraform Cloud side. So how do you access the Terraform Cloud? Go to the app.terraform.io and /session. You will end up with this login page and give your username and email ID and password. If you have not created the account, maybe you need to start with creating the free account from here. Okay, so I'm using the free Terraform Cloud accounts only. I'm going to log in with my password. Once you are logging into with using your valid password, you're going to go to the page where it will show the list of organizations. As of now, I have 2 organizations. One is the cloudquicklabs, cloudquick POCs. So right now I'm using cloudquicklabs, which is my renamed or rebranded channel name. Okay, so I will log in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this here. Okay, so maybe let's say you are not happy with your organization, maybe you can create your organization something like this, give the organization names and give the email ID, and that's also you're going to create a separate organization for it. So I'm good with the current existing Cloud Quick Labs organization. So in that one, you see the AWS backup was for the previous video. Right now I have created one more workspace called Azure Labs. So again, for your information, how did I create? Okay, so click on new workspace here, and then give your choose this API driven workflow, and give your namespace and give the optional description if you would like to, and click on the create workspace. Okay, and that's all. It's very simple 2-step job. Okay, so once you're done with that, you're going to have the workspace something like this, Azure Labs. And in this one, if you can follow the ORU, If you read this overview, it's going to explain you like how you can consume this workspace to store the remote state file. Right, so I have used this. I'm going to show you like how I used in the other page. Meantime, let me show you the configurations which I have completed here. So runc will be empty because we have not run anything. Then the states, there are no states because I have not run anything. The variables, so this is very important topic. This is very important part. So you need to set 4 variables if you are using SPN based authentication, SPN secret ID based authentication on Azure. Okay, so one is you need to have the subscription ID, and then the set the category equal to environment. Okay, so something like this. For example, let's say blah blah. Yeah, so let's say blah. Okay, so then values are something like XYZ. Okay. Now you need to select the environmental variable here and mark it as a sensitive. When you mark it as a sensitive, the value will not be displayed here. Okay. Alright, so that's how I actually created these environmental variables. Okay. So first one, as I said, this is the key ID. Okay, so if you are making mistakes in the key name, maybe the Terraform may not work. Okay, be 100% sure of following the key name like arm underscore subscription underscore ID, all caps. Similarly, arm client secret. So this is the place where I have kept the secret. This is the place where I have kept the subscription ID. ARM tenant. So okay, you need to mention ARM underscore tenant underscore ID, ARM underscore client underscore ID. So make sure that you copy the exact key ID without any mistakes, and then keep the respective values, and you are done. Okay. Now you are done at the Terraform Cloud side. Now let's go back to the another side. That is a developer side. Okay, so I'm the developer, right? So I have already I'm using Visual Studio Code to work with my GitHub. So as I explained in this diagram, right? So I'm a developer, so I'm going to interface with my GitHub only. So for that case, I need to log into my GitHub. I'm going to show you that as well. So right, just GitHub, right? So I'm going to go to this GitHub. So in this GitHub, I have hosted certain applications, certain files, okay, which are needed to manage my Azure infrastructure. So this is the repo I'm going to use in this video, that is azure.iac.github.io, right? Okay, so this is my GitHub account, and this is my, this is my repo name. And in this one, I have 2 branches, as I explained earlier as well. So feature branch 1 and main branch. Feature branch 1 is nothing but I use it as a development branch. And finally, the stable code will be merged into the main branch. Okay, that's where the status is. And now I'm going to walk you through these files. Okay, so this is the same repo I have cloned in my IDE, that is Visual Studio Code. You see the Azure iac.github.io. So under this one, so we have GitHub and GitHub workflows. Okay, so what is the .github /workflows? Okay, this is a subfolder under .github, that is workflow. So workflow folder is the folder where you can keep your GitHub action definitions, and you must need to write these GitHub actions in the YAML, YAML syntax only. Okay, so you need to have these files in a YAML syntax only. Now I'm going to quickly walk you through this file, so that you can be assured of what actually are these. Okay, so here this is a very plain GitHub action definition file. Here you are giving the name of your GitHub action, and then you are declaring the when does this file need to be run. Okay, so somebody needs to run this YAML file, right? So when is that scheduled? So I'm here, it is not scheduled, but this is on task. Okay, on push operation on branch main. Okay, so nothing but when there is somebody pushes some code into the main branch, try to run this GitHub action file. That's what this definition tells all about. Now in the job, we are running the job name equal to Terraform and run on Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is what? It's a build machine, or a machine where these GitHub actions are being run. Okay. Now in the steps we have the checkout. So in the checkout is we are using the checkout. Then we are setting the Terraform, which is actually configures the Terraform in this GitHub action machine, and with the CLI configuration credentials. So this is the place where we have kept the TFI API token. Okay, so I'm going to show you what is this. So this is if you go to the settings, right? So these configurations will be present in our repo settings. So you need to go to the repo settings, and here so here if you see, there's a secret. Okay, so there's a GitHub action secret. So in the GitHub action secret, you need to create a secret called TF API token. What does this TF API token is? So this TF API token is nothing but API token of your GitHub, of your Terraform workloads. Okay, of Terraform Cloud workloads. So how do I get it? you need to get it from your profile. So go to the profile here and go to the user settings. In the user settings, you're gonna go to the tokens and you're gonna create a API token. Okay, so this token has the permissions to get get the access on this complete subscription. That is a Terraform Cloud subscription. Okay, so that's the same credentials we have used here. That is in a TF API token, right? All right, so that's what the CLI config credentials underscore token value is. Okay, since we have keeping that variable in the secrets, so that's the reason I have given the syntax something like this. Okay, this is a GitHub action syntax to retrieve the environmental variable, right, of your repo. So if I go to the GitHub actions and secrets, so we are storing the secrets. Okay, this is very trusted and very secure way of storing your secrets on the GitHub. Okay. All right, so now finally what we are doing is we are running our natural commands of Terraform, right? That is a Terraform init, Terraform plan, and then evaluating whether the plan has went green or not. Okay, if it is failure, I'm exiting it, and that is much needed. And then finally we are invoking the apply. So invoking the apply, when does it happen? It happens when somebody pushes to the main branch. Okay, and that's where the if conditions are being added here. Maybe you need to look it very carefully. I'm going to share this file in my GitHub repo. I will create a separate folder for these one, and I'm going to share these complete folder structure from starting from here to here in my another repo, and you can use this file same from there. Yeah. All right. So this is the definition of the Terraform apply. Similarly, Xerox copy of the TF apply, but only it runs till plan. Yeah. All right. So that's where I have declared 2 GitHub actions, and after that I have one main file. So this is a very, very important file you need to understand. So as you know that when you are working with the Terraform, first Terraform state file, so you need to declare the Terraform body, right? So this is the place where you keep all Terraform metadata, like required version, required provider. So here we are using Azure RM, right? So that's the reason the providers are something like this. And version is 3.0.0, okay, so which is the latest version. And in the cloud, so since we are using the Terraform cloud, so and that's the reason this dictionary is coming in picture. So in this one you have the organizations. That's the cloudquicklabs, and the workspace which I have created, that is a workspace. Okay, so this syntax is mandatory. There is no deviation here, so it should be as it is. Okay, where the values of organizations and workspace only going to change. And providers. Okay, if you see the provider, so we need to have a provider for a provider required to run your Azure resources, right? To create a resources out of the Terraform, you need to have the Terraform providers like Azure RM, and that's what it has been done. Now we go to our business file. I can say business file. Why? Because this is the file where we actually declare what is the infrastructure it has to create on the Azure. Here I'm going to create only plain storage account. I'm not going to create anything because this is just a demo, right? So for this case, I'm creating a resource. That is first a resource group, because to create any resources in Azure, we need to have a container called resource group, right? We need to have a resource group, and in that resource group we keep all resources. All right, so this is the reason we are creating one example resource group, and then we are creating we are also creating a storage account. You see the resource name is storage account. This is the variable. Inside this flower bracket, we are giving the name of your storage account. This has to be unique. And here, if you see the references for the resource group name parameter is being given from above, right? If I select this one, you see, it's happening from here. Similarly for locations, okay? And the account here is standard, GRS, and the tags, okay? I'm adding some certain tags like, video belongs to the Azure, and channel is my YouTube channel name, that is a cloudquicklabs, okay? So this is all about, my complete setup. Now let's see the demo, right? So I'm going to commit some dummy messages. Demo now. Okay, so I'm going to some in not making sense command. So this is a Terraform command. Okay, so now I'm going to commit this code to my feature branch 1. Currently I'm feature branch 1. We also have the main branch. I'm not going to use main branch here, but it will be merged from there. Yeah, so I'm going to commit this. I will call it as a demo Azure TF Cloud. Okay, so this is the message I'm adding in the commit. I'm gonna make a synchronization now. So once the synchronization is done, what does this mean? You are pushing something into this feature branch 1, which will eventually trigger the Terraform plan. So if we go to the GitHub action. So currently we are in the Azure iac.github 1. So you see here demo Azure, right? So Terraform plan infra has invoked And the invocation message is, this is a commit message, right? That's a demo Azure TF. And if I open the Terraform logs, okay, it actually compiling those commands, that is init plan, right? And then it will do the post checkouts. Let me make you a caution here. The Terraform plan is not meant to spin up the infrastructure, but it just creates a draft of the infrastructure and it will give the message whether it's going to create a resources or not. And currently it is evaluating, you see, right? It has successfully evaluated the plan looks to be completed here. So we should see some green mark here. All right. So that's what the plan says. If I can go back, so in the plan message summary, let me go back. So in the plan summary, okay, so it looks like it has completed the job. And here you go, it is green, which means, the job is done. So if I go down, so here you see the plan is, it contains 2 resources to be added, 0 changes and 0 destroy. All right, so if I go back to my subscription, this is my subscription. If I go to the resource group, currently I don't have any resource group. Okay, that's what I wanted to make you clear. So there are no resource groups. Subscription is equal to all. Okay, I have only one subscription though. So now let me create a pull request and to complete the rest step. Okay, why we are creating the pull request? Because this is how I designed my solution here, so that Terraform plan occurs only during the merger. Okay, and that's the reason. Currently it is we are creating the pull request. So let me use main from feature branch 1 to main branch 1. That's a merger. I'm going to create a pull request. Let me complete the pull request. So pull request is done. So this is still not enough. We need to merge it. So merge the pull request. I'm going to merge it. Right. So confirm the merge. Okay. So there is a button called confirm merge, which is eventually what does it means? We have successfully merged the code from our feature branch 1 to the main branch 1. You see the storage account main.all files got updated. Now we should see the GitHub actions getting invoked here. Okay. So if I go back to the GitHub actions, this is very dynamic process. Maybe you need to slow down a bit, try to see the video repeat and try to understand it. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna open this Terraform apply, which is actually does the Terraform apply and spins up an infrastructure for us. While it is spinning, let me go back to the diagram. Okay. So now you need to correlate, right? So we have made a code here. We push to the GitHub. In the GitHub, we have the GitHub actions being defined, right? So whenever there is a push happens, the GitHub actions gets invoked, right? Or whenever there is a push or whenever there is a merger of the PR happens, GitHub actions gets invoked. So when the GitHub actions invokes, it's going to communicate to the Terraform Cloud by referring the the Terraform Cloud organization and the Terraform Cloud workspaces. Okay, and it's going to use those secrets which we have kept there and create the infrastructure after that in the Azure. Right. So if we go back to the GitHub action, so we still see the resources should be creating now. Currently it is doing the apply. Okay, so let's see if the apply gets completed successfully. You see it has already lapsed 23 seconds and we should see some resource group here. Okay, some resources getting created. All right, not it, but let's see. Okay, so here you go. Right, so it looks like it has successfully created the resources. No, actually I'm running the Terraform apply, right? So basically it's gonna evaluate with the plan as well, and finally it's gonna create the resources. All right, let's see if everything is completed. Okay, indeed it is taking some time, but actually we should see it creating the resources. Okay, so let's wait for 1 more minute and I should see some resources here. So if I can refresh, here you go. Right, our example resource group is created, and under this resource group we should see a resource called storage account. That's all, and that's completes our a demo. And it looks like it has created, and the storage account creation is indeed it takes some time, and that's the reason it is currently waiting for storage account to create. Here you go. Looks like storage account creation is successful, and Terraform apply also went fine. So if I can scroll down, right, you see that the all complete resources 2 added and 0 destroy, right? So you see that the resource, this is the storage account ID, right? So if I can show you, this is the storage account ID being created for us. And if we go back to the here, we should have some resources now. And here you go, your storage account is also running fine. All right, so I have shown you the required things to be shown in this video. Let me reiterate what we did. So with using this developer, we are using the GitHub action. We are using the Visual Studio Code where we are creating the Terraform file, declaring the GitHub action YAML files, and in the Terraform file we are mapping the Terraform Cloud backend definitions, right? We are also defining the parameter. We are also defining the ERM providers, right? The Azure ERM providers. And then in the storage account that YAML file, we have created our infrastructure that is a storage account, all right. And then finally, when we committed to the upstream branches, mean branches, it has invoked the Terraform apply, and finally it has created required resources in the our subscription, right? If I go to the storage account here, we should say some storage account. I'm pointing to a resource group. Yeah. All right. I have successfully shown the things to be shown in this video. A kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. So with that note, thank you. Thanks a lot.